Good morning. So we had a broadcast scheduled on yesterday, which is our normally scheduled broadcast, which is every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but we had to reschedule it. So I am here this morning to talk about what I would have shared on yesterday evening, and the title is Defining Moments. Defining Moments. Guys, there have been many defining moments in my life that have changed my life. And I believe that defining moments are opportunities. We have them all the time. Some people may say they're in transition, things of that nature, but I call them defining moments because what you do with those defining moments are the gatekeepers to your destiny. Those defining moments are the gatekeepers to your destiny. You'll see in the comments, I think that it's showing up, where I actually, let's see, it says I can, oh, okay, no. Put in the comments an opportunity for you to share your defining moments with us on this particular broadcast. I am going to share 4 of the defining moments in my own life that I feel really made a significant difference in what I was doing then and what I was doing now. They were actually like steps or ladders to my next level. And you have them. Everyone has defining moments in their life. And it is what you do with those moments that determines the path of your destiny. So a couple directives before I get started. One of the things, or a few of the things we do around here is, if this is your first time, be sure to put in the comments, what type of business do you own? How do you serve in the marketplace? How do people get to experience your gifts and your greatness? What type of business do you own? Put that in the comments. Number 2, this isn't your first time at the rodeo. You've been here before. You may be a client. You've been connected for quite some time. Put hashtag renew in the comments. Hashtag renew in the comments. And Renew Full Circle is the name of my consulting business, and full circle because we get our whole life over here. So put hashtag renew in the comments. And thirdly, this is something that everyone can do because it is to hit that little button on the left-hand side that says share. You can press that and something magical actually happens. It allows you to share out with someone else on your timeline, and they get to experience this message as well. I'm trying to see if I can actually share this out while we're online here. If you guys bear with me as you are sharing, I'm going to do, I was going to attempt to do the same. I'm using a different broadcast device, and so I don't even see it when I go to the actual Facebook page. So I'm not broadcasting from Facebook, although I am on Facebook. So anyway, you guys share that out for me before we get started. We're talking about defining moments, and I want you guys to really think back to different times that may have happened in your life. You may be experiencing a defining moment right now, right? Because we've had the pandemic, we've had the stay-at-home orders. I mean, so much has been transpiring in our country. And if we aren't careful in those defining moments, we let them consume us. But I believe and know to be true that defining moments are gatekeepers. They're like that door to your next level. And if you open it or close it or ignore it, they all have different impacts as to, how you'll move forward. So I'm going to share 4 defining moments in my life as examples for you all. Maybe it will help you in looking back on your life and say, well, maybe I should have looked at that, a little different. So one of my defining moments was when I worked with my mentor. Now, at the time that I began working for my mentor in her establishment, I had not seen an establishment run the way she ran hers. She had a franchise of about 9 businesses, and she also ran her business like a well-oiled machine. Not only was I able, and these are some of the advantages that happen when you work with mentors, not only was I able to see how she ran her business, but I also saw how she ran her life. So I remember her having someone who picked the children up from school, who took the children to school. I remember her having a personal assistant. There was a general manager, and my mentor was African American, and then she was a woman. So this was a picture of someone like myself doing really amazing things. And that opportunity really was a defining moment for me. It made me view what I was doing completely different. It made me begin to look at the business side of what I was doing more so than the craft. And this is so important for many of you who come on to watch this, because many of you as service-based business owners have a craft that you've gotten really, really good at, and you've, made quite a bit of money on it. You may not quite be at your 6 figures, or you may be at your 6-figure mark, but you also may be finding that, things are beginning to get a little overwhelming, or you find that the process is getting a little frustrating, or you can't necessarily sustain it. And I just want to propose to you to look at what it is that you're doing completely different. And I say that because when I continued to move forward in my own entrepreneurial journey, I knew I would have a staff. I knew that I would hire and train people. I would duplicate myself in the space of other people and allow them to perform services so that I could become the visionary of my space. And I think that without that opportunity of working with and under my mentor inside her establishment, I just don't think that I would have been, I'm not saying it's not possible that I wouldn't have, but that was definitely a defining moment for me where I was able to see things differently. Hope this makes sense to you all. And so that was definitely a defining moment for me. It changed the trajectory of how I saw business. And many entrepreneurs, as they begin in their entrepreneurial journey, so I talk about 3 stages of business. What is this doing? And I'm going to put that in the comments. Business. And that's the seed stage, the growth stage, and the expansion stage. And what I find is that so many entrepreneurs stay in that seed stage for far too long before they're actually hiring help, whether it's hiring help in their personal life or, in their business. And so they're doing everything. They're doing all of the things. But that particular defining moment set me on a new trajectory. So I opened my business. I managed 12 staff members whenever we were full, and I led a team. And my goal switched from being the person to actually perform the service to being more of a leader and operating in a leadership position. My personal title for my business, although I was the owner, was creative director. So I wanted to move myself to a space where I could think about the growth of the company and what that would take and what that would look like. And many of you can't get to that space because you're doing all of the things. So that was one defining moment for me that has really just shifted my concept or my perception of what doing business is. I believe there's a stage in our business where you just need help, whether it's a coach or a mentor or someone on your team, a personal assistant. Whatever the case may be, I had 3 customer care coordinators that rotated throughout the day. And there were so many tasks that I was able to do because I hired those individuals, but I saw that, right, from someone who I had worked under. I had an opportunity to see, hey, she was excellent at her craft, but she has grown, she's expanded, she's moved to new levels in what she's doing. And now she's running a business, right? She's running a business. She's Now, this is the next thing. I don't know how long that's. Oh, 1 second. I hope that does it. One of the things that I realized was, for as much as my mentor was an amazing mentor, and she did excellent at the craft of that particular business, so whatever it is that your business does, she was a business owner. Like, I rarely even saw her on the location, right? Now, if you're thinking someone with 9 locations, of course, there is a likelihood that they can't be at all of those locations, but they can still manage them all. So one defining moment for me was the opportunity to work with my mentor, to see things differently, and to look at business as business and not just, trading dollars for hours. The second defining moment for me was when I had my daughter. That was my second defining moment. And what happened for me when I had my daughter, I realized I felt kind of torn. This is, may seem crazy, but there was a moment when I had my daughter that I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, anymore. I want to be home with my baby. And then I began thinking from a space of, okay, you're being crazy because you can do them both. Right. And many of us as women, and this is one of the reasons that I coach women, because I can speak their language. I'm a woman, and I know that the dynamics of an ambitious, successful woman entrepreneur is just different from our male counterparts. Our responsibilities are different. The expectations that are had for us, even at home, are often different from our male counterparts. So we're normally seen as the individuals who should be, cooking and, cleaning and doing all of the domesticated things around the home. And now I love cooking, right? So cooking is something that brings me pleasure. But for many women, they find it a task, another responsibility that they have to do. And so me being able to say to myself, okay, look, you can have them both. What does that look like? So having my daughter was a defining moment where I knew I just wasn't I wasn't going to be trading as much of my time for dollars. And now that I'm at this space of realization, what does that look like? How do I systematize that out? How do I put that in a plan so that it's still profitable? And it was at that point where I honed in on my systems and things in my business. Hiring employees became super important to me. I really began growing my team. And I'm glad that even prior to that I had a team, because my daughter ended up getting sick about 6 weeks after she was born, which left me not working for about 8 months. I worked very, very part-time. I don't even know if you want to call it part-time, because I would go in 2 days a week for about 2 hours. And it was during that time that I began to trust. Right. And a lot of us don't move into that space of trust. Maybe you've hired someone before, or maybe you have fears of people stealing your stuff, within your business, or, things not going well. But I began to trust in that particular time frame. And one of the things it allowed me to do was to become better at hiring. Right. So I was more particular about not even necessarily the previous experience that people had that I hired, but more so their character. Because I sometimes found that people who were more experienced and they had all of these titles and things like that were also not coachable, teachable, or trainable, so that they would be in alignment with the vision that I have for my business. And so I owned a brick and mortar service-based business for 10 years prior to consulting full time. And this is the business that I'm referring to when I'm talking about having my daughter. So I opened my business, got married, and then had a baby within a 3-year time frame. And all of those were defining moments for me. And it's because I looked at those moments as opportunities instead of allowing myself to be sabotaged by, what happened, to actually grow, to actually put other systems or priorities together in my life that would, continue to allow me, one, to be fulfilled in what I was doing, because I knew that I didn't want my business to run my lifestyle. I wanted it to fund my lifestyle, right? And so that required me to, put systems in place that would allow me to do that. So the next defining moment was when I had my daughter. It also made me really look at the scope of how I wanted the rest of my years to be. I knew I did not want to miss special moments with my daughter. So whatever I created had to support me being able to earn revenue and still be available for my daughter. So from the time she was born and starting, well, they called it K4 at the academy that she went to, from that time until she was, I know, maybe about 10, I never missed a classroom party. I never missed an awards day. I never missed an activity. I went on all the field trips and school trips because those were things that were valuable to me. And I knew that I had to continue to grow my business in a way that would allow me to do that. And I wouldn't have stopped, when she was 10, but she started saying things like, Mommy, you don't have to go to all my events. Like, can I go on a field trip by myself? And there was a little, moment where I had to release my parental hand on that and, trust the fact that she was growing up and I didn't have to be to all of them. But that was really, really important to me. Another thing that was super important to me when my daughter was born was having a great education. And so from, like I said, they called it K4. She went to a private school from K4 until 5th or 6th grade. And that was, her education was important to me. So I had to look at my financial situation and see, what do I need to do in order to be able to make this happen? It was not a priority for my spouse. I was married for 14 years and I'm now divorced. I've been divorced now for about 3 years, going on 3 years. And that just wasn't priority to him or anything that he wanted to contribute to. So that was my thing. That was something that I really desired and also funded, right? And so that meant my business had to be able to support it, even in the manner of my time freedom and, my finances as well. But those foundational years were really, really important to me. And not only did she attend a private school, it was a Christian private school. So that was really important to me because I felt that those were foundational years that she would always remember and take with her, in other areas of her life. So another defining moment for me was my daughter's birth. The next defining moment for me was my marriage. So I opened my brick and mortar service-based business. Then I got married. And then about a year and a half, 2 years after, my daughter was born in 2005 and I got married in 2003, I had a baby. So I got married in 2003. That was a defining moment for me. Now, I don't know how many of you are married on the broadcast or how many of you who have been married, but let's think about it like this. I went from being a single person up until 30. So I would hop on a plane every other weekend. I remember this one spell of traveling. Every other weekend, I was on a plane in a new state, traveling. And I did that for about a year and a half until I just burnt myself out from that. But we're talking about a single individual who has only had to do things the way, they do it, their own routines and things of that nature. And so marriage was a defining moment for me. And I often battle with traditional things that society says that a wife should be. I often battle with being this career-driven woman, this ambitious entrepreneur and business owner, and my role as a wife. And I find that society often asks us to bow down from our careers and our businesses in order to fit the mold that society puts us in as women. I can remember it being said that because I was a business owner and I was career oriented and, my personal economy was important to me, that I wasn't a family, woman, which is, total crap. It's not true. It may appear that way, but if you set your business up properly, it allows you the time to do the things that you really value, to be there for your children throughout the whole process. And where I want to really support women is to help them set their business and their life up in such a way where they can focus on the things that they value. One of the things we do inside 3D Success Academy is define, what your values are, and then build your business around that so that your business is funding your lifestyle and not running your lifestyle. Also, within my marriage, a defining moment was when I realized that my spouse and myself thought differently about earning revenue. We thought similar about the roles of women in the marriage, but the flexibility for those roles to evolve was not there, from my spouse's standpoint. So that caused, quite a bit of friction for us within the marriage. And then I began understanding more things about money mindset, which I talk to you all about often. If you follow me, or especially those of you who work with me privately, we talk about your money mindset, because there's so many roles within what we do as women that, are very traditional. Like, just because you didn't cook the meal doesn't mean that you aren't providing for your family. So your spouse can help with the cooking, or you can have it catered, you can buy food. There's different ways to fit that particular thing that needs to be done. And so I learned about, flexibility, even hiring out things around the home, like cutting the lawn and things like that. It basically taught me, as an entrepreneur, as a wife who was an entrepreneur who was a wife, it really taught me about time and the importance of it, and being able to pay really for some of the things that weren't necessarily a part of my role as mom or wife. And what was so much more important was that I had the moments and the times to be there for my daughter and to laugh with her and to play with her. Those were the most important things. And now I cooked all the time. I still cook quite often. I absolutely enjoy cooking. But for many of you who that's not necessarily your thing, if you build your business in a way where it funds those things, you're still in a position to provide, that meal that you want to put on the table for your family. It's just that you weren't over the stove slaving over it. And I say slaving, it was hard to come out because I find it pleasurable. But I realize that not everybody finds cooking, pleasurable. So another defining moment for me was my marriage. As you come on, even if you come back on the replay, I love to hear what some of your defining moments have been. And I thought this broadcast was particularly important to share because many of you have had defining moments that you didn't look at as an opportunity. So you look at that transitional time as a failure when in actuality it's an opportunity. And the way you view it, what you do in those times of, defining moments, it really largely connects to your destiny and your future. I believe those defining moments are gatekeepers. It's like somebody standing at the gate saying, yep, you can open the door, or depending on how you're thinking or what you're doing, you can't open the door to this. And many of us stay on the other side of the door, sometimes in self-sabotage, just thinking about, well, wow, I wish this had gone differently. And we all have those moments, right? I actually teach a strategy called the RRF factor. And part of that factor, we're reflecting maybe on defining moments in our life. But after we reflect, we reposition quickly. And the goal inside that particular training that I do is to help women to establish a repositioning time that's a lot quicker than the 2 years they've been contemplating on something, or, the year long that they've been, waiting to make that next move. It helps them to shift into repositioning more quickly with strategy. So that's what that RRF factor is. But in our, reflecting about the defining moments, we have to say, hey, was this really an opportunity? Did I look at this opportunity wrong? Did I assume that this opportunity was a failure when in actuality it was the gatekeeper? I was being introduced to the gatekeeper that was in charge of opening the door to my next level. The fourth defining moment in my life, now I've had many. I just picked a few to share with you all that I thought would register to many of you as wives and moms who own businesses. But the fourth defining moment that I wanted to share with you was my divorce. So that was a huge defining moment for me. Divorce isn't something that normally just happens. There's usually a series of or a time frame in which it happens. For us, we were separated a few times, like living outside of the home with one another before we actually finalized the divorce, just kind of still holding on to it. And there were so many things that I learned, oh my gosh, during that time. And there were many, many things that were defining moments within that defining moment for me. I noticed how I lost who I was. I had allowed many of my goals and dreams and things of that nature to be put on the back burner. And I also began to learn so much about how I chose or how I was choosing and allowing at that particular, space in my life. And I also learned, because many of us, when we're in a space of security, maybe for you, maybe you're in corporate and you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, and it's a space of security for you. And it's almost like you can't really see yourself doing anything else. I learned a lot about staying really connected to my vision and knowing that everything that should be in alignment will be, as long as we're connected, to our vision. So my divorce was a huge defining moment for me. I learned so much about how your thoughts become things. I teach my clients from a 3-point perspective: abundance mindset, personal growth, and some amazing business building strategies. And about 80% of the shifts that they make that allow them to go from, hey, Denise, how are you, dear? That allow them to go from, earning 50K to earning, 6K in 2 days, from 50K a year to 6K in 2 days. And you can do the math on that, is really about their thinking. So many times we're holding on to this thing that we've actually outgrown and that won't allow us to grow anymore. So working with my mentor, here are the 4 things that were defining moments for me. One was working with my mentor, and you guys can go back and catch the replay when this is over. My daughter's birth, my marriage, and also my divorce. And for those of you who come on, as we're sharing today, put down some defining moments that you've had in your life, and then think about, did I look at those moments as opportunities, or did I look at them like they were failures and I actually kind of sat in it instead of moving forward? A lot of times we find ourselves striving to sometimes continue putting the wrong key in the door instead of looking at those opportunities in a different respect where we've actually opened the door, right? That opportunity or that defining moment was actually a gatekeeper to destiny. I want to share one bonus defining moment for me. And this is really, really huge because it's kind of like the soundboard or the core of what I do and the work that I do with women now as a business coach and certified life coach and mentor. And that was when I researched my family tree. So back in 2001, I researched my family tree, and this was prior to marriage, a couple years prior to marriage. I researched my family tree. And one of the things I did in that research was to connect with family members who were still living, like the oldest people who were still living, who could tell me what they remembered about, family members, and then move forward. And I started out with, does anybody remember Ancestry.com? I don't even know if they're still like around, but I think that kind of the marketing from that got me, interested. I think I did a little bit with that. And then I was like, I want to hear from some real people. I really wanted to know more about my grandmother, who passed away at a really young age. She was 49. And I had got to experience her for about 4 or 5 years. And she made such a profound effect on me that I just wanted to know more about her. And there were so many different perspectives and stories about my grandmother, some of them that I wasn't comfortable with, and I wanted to know more. So I began asking people, and in researching my family tree, and this is the bonus defining moment for me. But in researching my family tree, I started noticing patterns of the women in my family. And these were like really strong women who were overcoming like so many things. Like when I say they were on beast mode, just really strong, really long suffering, tenacious, strong-willed. I believe that I got all of those qualities from them. But I began to see these patterns in relationships. I began to see patterns in their personal economy and marriage, children. It was like these generational things that I began noticing in the stories that I was hearing when I researched my family tree. And it made me say, yes, my lineage is of very strong-willed women, long-suffering. But what they were putting their energy and their time on was not yielding them great results. And it was at that time that I began to really look at my life differently. And unfortunately, I could see some similar patterns. They may have been dressed up differently, right? From the women in my family, I may have had better opportunities and things of that nature. But at the core, there were some similar patterns, I could notice in my own life. And I began to make some decisions about my personal economy, about the type of relationships I would have. And I was so new to this when I researched my family tree and when I got married. I just began to embrace it, right? And so I hadn't learned as much about myself or what I was allowing prior to marriage, but I had started, like brushing the dirt off the steps for that particular one. But that was really a defining moment for me. It was also something that allowed me, I'd worked with thousands of women throughout my career. I was a platform artist, so I traveled, I was an educator, I would teach at some of the local colleges. And then I had tons of clients that I work with personally and to visit our establishment, mainly women. And so I had been in the presence of thousands of women, over my 28 years as an entrepreneur. And I also noticed some of those same patterns in the women that would come and have services with me or enter our business and had intimate moments of sharing, right? And it began to be like super important to me. Well, even prior to that, I just wasn't sure where all of this was heading, but it was evident to me that I really wanted to help people get to their next level. I really had a heart for women. And, I could see some of those same patterns. So one of the things I do as a business coach and certified life coach is to help women in their growth and from what stage they're in now. Many people are at a stage, right? There's a gatekeeper. They're having defining moments like right now, and they're choosing to still try to figure out the stuff that's behind them instead of looking at what's going on as an opportunity to truly move forward. And we do that sometimes because there's a measure of security where we used to be with what we used to do. And there's not as much security in our mind and our heart in the unknown. So I help women step into a space of expansion and possibility for their next, because it's super important. If not, we don't really evolve. I was listening to this talk where it shared that the one thing many people regret after many years of living their life and they've kind of come to the end is what they didn't do, right? And I'm just determined to help more women really step into a space of expansion and growth in their life, in their business, overcome some of the fears. For many entrepreneurs, there's a fear of hiring. I'm not talking about like contracted help, but like really hiring. I truly believe in employees and hiring, because when you have someone as an actual employee, you can really align with your vision that way. And sometimes it's hard to do that when it's just contracted help or independent contractor that's working with you. I think those spaces are important. And I think there are stages where we do things, you may just need to start with a VA or possibly a personal assistant. But I think that it's important. And my goal is to help women take those defining moments, take a look at those defining moments and move to their next level. Two ways I help women to do that. One is inside my 3D Success Academy for women in business. It's an amazing opportunity for those of you who, you're earning some money, you got your flow going on with the thing that you do, but you need systems and structures in your business. And I also have a few spaces each month to work with people who may want to work one-on-one inside my Next Level Renew strategy sessions. And that allows you to form things like a hiring strategy or a profit and growth strategy, a marketing strategy, things of that nature, but it's more from a one-on-one space. And then thirdly is my mastermind. And I won't talk too much about the mastermind because it's kind of changed a little. I am full and I'm not taking anyone at this moment, but I do have a mastermind called Exceptional, and it is for leaders. It is for those of you who, maybe you've hit that 6-figure plus mark and you know that you need to hire. Not taking people for that right now, but those are the ways that I can help you if, especially in the academy, if you want to really find out what those defining moments are and how they are in alignment, so much in alignment with where it is that you're really supposed to be heading at this stage in your life, in your business. That is my take on today. I will, I don't even know if I have, I'll just put my website here in the comments, and then I think I did. I think that's right. RenewFullCircle.com. You can always connect with me there. You'll see the Next Level Renew strategy session there. That's a 60-day opportunity to work with me on 1 to 2 specific strategies that you need for next in your business. The 3D Success Academy is also on that particular website. I hope you guys have been blessed. Even if you come back on the replay, share in the comments. What are some defining moments in your life? How did they change the way you look at things and how you do things in your life and in your business?